Welcome to Tiny Hands Big Dreams here in our off-grid homestead.
These are our top 10 standout varieties to grow. These are the things that when we are like, oh, what things do we want to grow? These are the exact varieties we talk about.
She's like, oh, we got to have this. I'm like, oh, we got to have this and that. And the kid yells one. And we ended up at 10. We did not end up at 11. If we had picked 11 things off the top of our head that were like, this super exciting, awesome, you have to have it, there would have been 11. So not just a number pulled out of thin air. These are really great seeds that you want for your garden.
A lot of these are very underrated. I don't hear a lot of people talking about them. We sort of stumbled upon them by chance of like, oh, we'll try this. We are not people in general who like fussy plants. There's a lot of things where like, no, it needs a certain conditions, or it's hard to grow, or it's susceptible to this or that. I don't want any of those things. So these are all really good producers that don't need a lot of tender care.
No, it's got to go big, and it's got to be great.
Yep.
That is not a huge list in the plant world.
Now, again, this is also not all the things you should grow in the whole world. There are, for instance, no carrots on this list. Not because you shouldn't grow carrots, because they're good, but because we have so far not found a standout variety that's like, that one's so much better.
Carrots, I think, are more, depends more on your soil, how the carrot tastes, than the carrot type itself. And if your carrots are coming out like bitter or weird or things, fix your soil.
That's true of quite a few things.
Some correct amendments, maybe some calcium.
Yeah.
There's things to do. But that being said...
Now, if you have found a standout variety of anything that we don't mention, share it. Because sharing is caring.
You just add it to the list. Yeah. People will see it. And
Absolutely.
They'll thank you.
We maybe just haven't found the most amazing carrot in the world yet. It's totally possible.
It's totally possible.
You ready?
Ready. In no particular order.
Now, one more thing.
We're doing lots of fingers.
I don't know why. A big part of buying seeds is where you buy them from. What seed company you choose to spend your money at. We'll get into that at the end. We have thoughts and opinions. And
positive and negative.
Yes. All right, let's start.
Okay. In no particular order.
Except this is the one that like started the whole list because I thought about it.
Okay.
So this one's
number one is number 1. 2 through 10 are in no particular order.
The Opalka tomato.
You've probably never heard of it. It has a funny name. It's not originally English. Polish?
I have no idea.
We have no idea. So, what do we like in a tomato? Well, it's got to be a tomato. You got to be able to use it for things. You want it on a sandwich? Yeah. You want it in like chopped in a salad? Yeah. Do you want it like on a hamburger? It's got to do that too.
Your sauce, your
got to make sauce. Salsa?
Oh yeah, got to
make a salsa. Now, usually this is like, oh, I grow this tomato for this and this for that and this for that.
Yeah, I'm just fixing
and we've had varying results with that. The Opalkas absolutely produced like crazy. Indeterminate tomato. Just wait.
No, the first time I grew them was in horrible conditions. It was
a rebuilding year for soil.
It was a building. It was not very good soil. It was way too much weed pressure. It was a lot of bugs. It was dry because we had not yet put water sources anywhere. So how often was I really going to run the hose down there? Not that often. And even in all of those terrible conditions, I got tomatoes, which was kind of shocking to me.
Big, beautiful plants, lots of tomatoes.
And I got tomatoes that were huge. I originally got these seeds because I thought they'd be sort of like an Amish pasty type of thing.
They look, yeah,
which, honestly,
that Roma Amish pasty.
All of those are kind of disappointing to me in general tomato eating land. I'm sort of like, it's a tomato. Wow, they're so good.
They're so good. They're such a big producer. They're flavorful. They're meaty.
They're also huge. So picture your typical paste tomato being relatively small. These are huge. They're giant.
They are.
They have very little seeds. They're very meaty. Lots of substance to them.
If we had to pick a single, and we love tomatoes, if we had to pick a single tomato seed for the rest of our lives to subside on, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Hands down. It's not even a question. And there's a lot of great tomatoes out there.
And you can play with all the different varieties and things, and that's really fun. But if you want a producer, that is so wasp. If you want something that is just reliable, it is tolerant of all things, the Opalka is just the absolute best.
Yep.
Now, number 2 is also a tomato. Because while I think the Opalka is a total tomato, the Sun Gold, it's just something, it's almost not a tomato. It's
a snack.
It is. It's really just a snack.
They're small.
Tomato.
They're yellowy orange.
Golden. Sun Gold
colored. They are crazy sweet. When I say crazy sweet, we're closer to candy than we are to a tomato.
I wouldn't want to use them as you would a typical tomato, because
you're not putting them in a salad. You're not using them for something else. You grow some, and they're prolific.
We eat them.
We had a wall of them growing out of a raised bed one year. Like, it was just, we could have picked pounds of them a day off a few plants. You walk by while you're doing garden chores, you snack on them. The children run by and snack on them, and then they run by again and snack on them some more, and again and again, and it was like a snack bar. They just never quit.
Yeah. They're just amazing.
They're delicious. Just a little happy spot in the garden, because if you have children, they want to go out and they just want to pick and eat something. Although I want to pick this, I want to eat that. I want to well.
So they're like, well, you don't want it. No, just eat the Sun Gold.
There you go. It's fair game. Have at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Number 3, bull's blood beet. I mean, part of me is like, well, it's not that exciting, but
it's a beet.
I love beets. You love beets.
Beets are delicious.
We all love beets. I mean, maybe not we all, but the family does. And I sort of at one point thought, like, it doesn't matter what beet I buy, it's fine, it's a beet. It's not really true.
No, they were really good. Both roasted in the oven. Roasted vegetables became one of our family favorites, of a thing that we never really grew up with and didn't understand why. Pickled, delightful.
Yes. The bull's blood was the only one that I think pickled really well. It's we're just having a little bit of a fight there.
Our lovely open air second floor studio is without bug netting.
Yes.
I will occasionally swat at an invader.
Invader. All right. Beets. Bull's blood. They are huge. They get real big, but they don't get woody and gross when they get big. They're still really good.
No.
I mean, it's totally just an aesthetic thing, but I really like the super dark for pickled beets, because otherwise they'll lose too much color to the brine, and then they just look sort of sad.
They look like just gems.
Yeah, they're so bright. They're so good. They have a really good flavor. They're super tolerant, again, of whatever you stick them in.
They just grow.
And when you look at beets, you're like, I just want it to grow. Just grow and be tasty.
Yep.
And they grow and they're tasty. All right. Pole beans. Yeah. I tried 2 varieties. They are both good. The Blue Lake was also a runner-up. It worked really well. I thought it was great until I tried the Kentucky Wonder. The Kentucky Wonder totally won.
Now, again, preface this with not just the name of the thing, which can come from 317 different providers and places and things.
Yeah.
Watch till the end for the advice on where to get a quality seed of the correct actual variety. Because if you look them up on the internet and you're like, if I look up that name and I look up pictures of seeds, there's a lot of different looking beans, different colored seeds, different things.
Yeah.
Beware. Sorry.
The Kentucky Wonder was the most heat tolerant, because usually, like, you have kind of a window depending on where you live. You have a window where beans will grow well. Too cold, obviously they won't. Too hot, and they just kind of give up.
This was so I was in Tennessee summer,
and they went through the entire summer producing, like, just didn't really ever stop.
Inconsistent watering.
They also had incredible bug pressure.
Oh, yeah.
We had so many bugs, and they would just strip the leaves, but the plant would just keep producing.
Never gave up.
They're also, the actual bean stays tender longer in growth. So instead of pick them twice a day, sometimes I swear you go back in the evening and you're like, why are you so big? It's like the zucchini. Why did you get so big? And then they get all gross and stringy. No, and like they could be on there ready to pick for a couple days and still be good.
Yeah.
Which makes life a lot easier in the middle of summer.
And more pleasant for eating.
Yes. They're good fresh. They're good pickled. They're good cooked. They're just good all the way around.
Okay.
Bulgarian carrot chili.
So here's one, you may not have found in your local seed collection.
I don't know what possessed me to try it the first time, except it sounded funny, probably.
We tried a lot of seeds. We looked up a lot of reviews.
Yeah.
That's also the one that we get here.
Where
And
is here?
we're in Ecuador. Hi.
I don't think we said that.
We didn't say that, but if you follow us, you know that we decided to homestead in Ecuador because you can buy a big chunk of beautiful land that doesn't ever have winter year-round. It's just spring, summer all the time, and you can just have a lot of fun with whatever you want to do without a lot of rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we brought some of these seeds. We will have more again in the future, but we also try to use what is local to us because it is probably more adapted. Also, it's more accessible.
Yep.
So weirdly enough, we have found what we think are very similar to the Bulgarian carrot chili here, which is sort of
looks, taste, acts, pretty much all the same.
They are about yay long.
Yep.
They look kind of like a carrot. They're orange. They taste, I guess, when you say if a pepper is hot or mild, that is completely dependent upon you as a human being.
Yep.
I would call them medium-ish.
They are the base for our hot sauce, not the entirety of the heat, but a lot of the flavor and a little bit of the heat that she makes. Oh my gosh, the most delicious like homemade hot sauce, which she then jars up and like. But they get used in other things as well.
But the important part about these that I think makes them special is that they're crazy prolific. Like they just keep going. But they're also, they're not just a heat. They're not like a jalapeno which to me has zero flavor and just heat.
There's some peppers that are even worse.
Where it's just like you are just fire in my mouth. You
don't taste
no
like
flavor.
much.
These are really fruity.
Yeah.
They're very complex in flavor. I don't know. There's just something about them that is really, really good.
Yeah.
They're just delicious.
We love them.
Yeah.
All right. Next.
Apple elongated sweet red.
Now.
Also known as just apple.
Most people, the go-to for a pepper is a bell pepper.
Listen, bell peppers.
There's a lot of them. I would recommend against them.
What is it? The California
Wonder. And there's a ton of hybrid. Here's the problem with your bell peppers. One, they have to get big in order to be picked right.
Like the physical pepper.
Yeah, and by the time they get to that, they may have been bugged of some way because it just takes so long to get to that. Two, the bell peppers in general as a family have all really been developed for hydroponic indoor or outdoor growing, but hydroponic like on a schedule, on a feeder system, in a certain kind of medium, the roots pretty much drowned in nutrient all the time. That's how they've been developed. I would not recommend them in general. While they will grow in some gardens, and there are some varieties that are, of course, better. Like
in general, they've never been super successful for me. They're just
there is a higher failure rate, depending. Not that you didn't get lucky with yours and things, and I'm sure we're going to get that in the comments. But the
apple
elongated sweet red peppers, slightly more natural. They, instead of having the flared bell pepper bottom, they come together.
They're like a little heart almost.
Sure.
Heart shape. They're small. They're much smaller, which I think has its benefits. They also are really, really thick. So the actual flesh is thick. Like I had some that were like a half-inch thick.
When you get the thick flesh and they're small, they grow really fast, and you get more weight of pepper relative to other things. Like a bell pepper with thin skin, like there's just not that much weight of pepper. If you're trying to make a salsa and you dice it up and you're like, it's gone.
It also is, I thought it was especially good raw. Just like they're so crunchy and so sweet.
And tasty.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, perpetual spinach.
I apologize for our friends, the cicadas. As we approach the end of our rainy season and we get into the dry season, they wake up and sing.
Yay! We try to plan around them, but that is difficult because nature doesn't care about your plants.
Okay. Perpetual spinach.
I just like the name. Now, if you like spinach, but you can't grow it because it's too hot, spinach is
It bolts.
fussy. I could not grow it in Tennessee to save my life. Like, it would just bolt in 2 seconds. I'm like, you have like 2 leaves.
A lot of commercial spinach is grown indoors now because
it's temperamental. I don't like growing things like that. Turns out there is a Swiss chard variety called perpetual spinach, which tastes like spinach, but it's a Swiss chard. If you've grown Swiss chard, you know it actually grows incredibly easily and well. We had some over winter in Tennessee. Like it
grows, you clip it, you clip it, you clip it, you clip it, and it grows.
Eventually, in the hottest part of the summer, it will bolt too, but it is not nearly as fussy as spinach. It is also much bigger leaves. Usually, if your spinach leaves get big, they get tough and kind of gross. Well, these do not. They get, Swiss chard sized big leaves, tender, delicious, tastes like spinach, super prolific, really easy to grow.
Yeah. You don't need a ton of them. A small spot, a few plants.
They just keep going.
Provides a lot.
Yeah, they're awesome. Do we like tomatillos?
Oh, okay.
Now, we love tomatillos.
Yeah. Tomatillos were something that I really didn't understand, except that it turns out that is what they use to make chili verde salsa, which I love.
Salsa verde, yeah.
Salsa verde, without knowing where that comes from. We did finally make it once.
Yeah.
Which is mostly tomatillos plus a few peppers. I have people that have grown up in hot parts of the world who've lived and breathed chilies and salsas and things, who tried ours and just went, that's the greatest one ever. Man, it's a pantry stocker for sure. You jar a bunch of that up and you put it away and it's
so good.
Yeah.
As far as specific varieties, while I think they mostly taste the same, I've grown several different kinds. They mostly taste the same. The purple, what is it called? The purple blush, I liked simply because it seemed to grow the best and be the most prolific. Again, in those they were next to the Opalka tomatoes, in really poor conditions. They were the ones that kept producing the most, the longest, and didn't just give up in dry, hot, miserable conditions. So
no, and they just kept going.
Kept going and going and going. They are so good.
It was good.
So good. Yeah.
And again, you need like 1-2 plants.
Depends on how much you want. Now, I will say, the purple blush is not actually purple. I was like, I don't want a purple salsa. That's going to be brown at the end and gross. Ew, I don't want that. It is just the husk that when it has Drexon on it, it turns purple. That's it. The inside's still green. All right. Waltham butternut squash. Now, I love squash. I love butternut squash. There are many varieties of butternut squash. They're probably all good.
I was never a huge fan of squashes in general. They had a texture that reminded me of the words squash. Which was unpleasant to me. But I actually really like this one.
Again, I don't know if it really tastes terribly different than other butternut squash. Some of that's going to be conditions, soil, things. But what I found, again, we get back to why I like most of these, is how easy they are to grow, how tolerant they are. We had...
And what you get.
Yeah. So we had wickedly terrible, what was it, there was the squash bugs and the vine borers. I had so many dreams of so many melons, and I think we got like one maybe. It was terrible. But for some reason, the Waltham, while they still got all of those bugs, they managed to continue producing. They would have like no leaves on them, and there would still be the fruit. Like, yeah, you go.
And not just a fruit, but like
big ones.
And then not just like a thin like skin with a big hull like a pumpkin where there's a ton of seed inside.
The butternut always have the more flesh.
Yeah.
Which is why I like them. But it was just the fact that even in, again, those just bug pressure conditions, I got like a huge crate of just out of like 5 plants.
Yeah.
Which is what you want. And if you have things like squash bugs and vine borers, which a lot of people do, you are looking for something that is not going to just give up at the first sign of bug. So
it's just
I can't.
And it goes down. Yeah, no. And if you haven't, I grew up eating squash as it gets baked with nothing, maybe a bit of butter, and then you eat it as a squash. I grew up not liking squash. Take all your squash if you don't know what to do with them. Peel them, bake them, puree them, freezer bag them, freeze them. Throughout the winter, bust out a bag, make a stew or a soup, put it in.
Or a pumpkin bread with squash.
Oh, that's really... And it's not like you're eating squash. It is like you're eating something that is just
if you put it in
rich
a soup or
and
a
delicious
stew,
and more hearty.
it adds... they're really good for you. Like, they're really good for you. They're very nutritious. Adding that in during the winter is really good.
It'll take a soup or stew or something else from a, like, oh, this is good, to a, oh, wow. Like, this is just, like, delicious and hearty, and you dig into it. Okay.
While not a seed, it is still a seed. Seed potato?
Seed potato. Yeah.
Seed potato. Now, you should tell the story of why these particular potatoes.
All right. First, when you look up potato seeds, there are true potato seeds. They look like tomato seeds. They're very small. They're very uncommon. It's impossible to find them. I went to a whole seminar with a guy who actually breeds them and has created a bunch of different varieties that are out there. You basically will never encounter those. But what they call seed potatoes is what these are. It's just potatoes you're going to use to plant out. We live next to the, what was it?
It was the Double N potato shed.
The Double N, otherwise known as the Potato Shed, in Burlington, Washington.
Yep.
You can look it up. They're online. If you live within a long driving distance,
it's worth it.
It's worth stopping by. You can go up to the nice lady at the counter who also checks the tractor trailers in and out all day long and ships stuff to Japan. They ship a lot of these to Japan. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
She said more than half of the inventory of the satinas that they grow in Washington go to Japan for a lot of money.
I did not know
to
that.
fancy restaurants.
And if they go to Japan, they've got to be good.
They are that good. Yep.
Yeah.
Probably paired up with a Kobe beef or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the satinas are a yellow potato, creamy, delightful, does everything.
I can't even explain how good they are. There's so many variety of potato in the world. We have experienced that in Ecuador, where there's like a gajillion varieties and they change all the time and no one tells you what they are except potato.
Sometimes they say it's good for soup or it's good for frying.
The varieties are endless when it comes to potatoes. I would choose the satina just like the opalka. If I had to choose one type of potato, it would be that.
It is
good for all things.
It is good
for baking and mashing and frying and stews and things.
And as poor people, we were poor. At the time, we would go and they sell them in 50-pound boxes. And the lady goes and pulls it right out of cold storage on a cart and wheels it up to you and you put it in your car. Neatly slides under a couch.
It does.
which in the winter in a bus, when you live in a bus, also stays relatively cool, touching a wall and a floor.
Yes. Now, if you have a root cellar or some sort of better cold room, get many boxes.
They're very nice.
You can also order them. We'll talk about where to order them later. I'm sure you can get them other places. You can order the seed potatoes, and then you can just keep planting them every year. They are incredible potatoes, and I know at one point we gave them out to people. I was like, "You should try these potatoes." And they're like, "That's an amazing potato," thinking like, "You're gifting me a potato."
Yeah, and people are like,
"What are you?"
It's a potato. Like potatoes, a potato.
Nope.
Yeah, and I remember growing up thinking like russet potatoes were like all that, and I won't even eat them now.
Those are disgusting.
They're gross.
They're so gross.
But, like, I'm sorry, but once you've had like the dense, creamy satinas,
yeah,
you are ruined on other potato.
All right, so there are our 10 seeds.
Wild card.
But we do have a wild card.
Should we drum roll? We should drum roll. No, that's silly. All right. Our last seed is, if we had to pick one out of the entire list, and we only got one of the whole list that we could like have and not the rest, it would be this one. Bacon seeds. Because, gosh, they're a lot of fun. We love them dearly, but all of the things that goes culinarily into what we grow around here as part of what we eat, the bacon seeds are probably more important than everything else on the list.
They are. We just had to throw them in.
They're fun. Honestly, they're easy. You put them in an electric fence, you throw them scraps and you know, some other stuff. Like you should try growing some at home. We did it on a tiny little like lot in Tennessee, like in like what is like suburbia. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. It worked out.
They're so cute.
They're so cute. Eating a natural diet, they don't even smell.
No, they're super fun.
They're super fun. So that is our most favoritist, like essential,
did you say
important.
Most favoritist?
I did, yeah. I'm gonna stick to it.
Most favoritist.
Yeah.
Most favoritist and bestest.
The ones that we scream out that like when we were ordering seeds, like we should get these. And it's that time of year. You're thinking about a garden, think about seeds. Company.
Yeah. We haven't even gotten into the company. Gosh.
She would have reminded me eventually.
Yeah. I was waiting for you.
Where you get seeds is very important. They have to be quality control. They should be doing trialing of such seeds in small plots with knowledgeable lifelong gardeners. And then quality control of the seeds, the packaging,
germination rates, those kind of things.
You have to trust the experience of the people who are doing it.
So there's that side, and then there is you have to interface with, let's face it, at this point it's all a website, and humans.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you have to have decent customer service. I don't want to deal with a company who has poor customer service.
No.
I just don't.
No. Also, all of the seeds that you see, almost not all, most of the seeds that you see in all the big box stores, probably garbage.
Oh, like the Walmart seeds?
Well, the Walmarts and the Home Depots and the things that have those big displays in your local.
They haven't been stored correctly. They're old. They're poor quality to start with.
A lot of them are coming out of China, even if they say packed in the U.S.
I had forgotten this until we were talking about the peppers. And then it suddenly dawned on me. It was a few years ago. Do you remember Peppergate? Do you remember the peppers?
I remember Peppergate. They don't remember Peppergate.
Do you remember Peppergate?
Yeah.
Okay. So Peppergate, and this is only because I was on a bunch of like homesteading gardening groups, and everyone kept saying, why am I not getting the peppers? Mostly peppers. The package says I was supposed to, and it's people all across, I would say, the world, and they're all the peppers are wrong, and they're just wrong. I don't know what company these all came from, bought mostly at big box stores. I don't know where they all came from, but someone either messed up or got real mad.
When you look at major distributors, again, probably in Asia, who then distributes to a bunch of different names, a bunch of different places. They all look like different brands. They're all coming out of the same place. And they either screwed up, honestly, or were jilted about
we're just
not having a day off
know.
like do something. We don't know. Huge, and then you go back to like Home Depot or something, and you're like, hey, those seeds I bought, blah 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 blah, and they're like,
okay. But if you have planned,
you put a lot of time and work into your garden,
and you expect certain things at the end of that. You expect certain results. If you wanted sweet bell peppers and you have gotten spicy serranos, that sucks a lot. You want what you have put into your garden. You expect that at least the variety is correct.
And then past that, though, like, they can buy seeds from anywhere. And then so we've gotten into, like, there's the big known names of seed companies that people have been buying at since, God, I was a kid, that are even U.S. companies. And they, in our opinion, have done this with quality and customer service.
And there's a lot of newer seed companies that I have seen people talk about that they rave about. I have not tried all of them. Gosh, I don't know if anyone has actually ordered from all the seed companies that exist. But we do have experience with one that has, honestly, I don't ever want to buy from anyone else.
I had never heard of them before. They weren't one of the big flashy names, but Fedco, which sounds...
Honestly, I was really questioning whether it was a legitimate company.
It sounds more like something you get a loan from.
I just like, I don't know if this is legitimate. Like, should I
Is this just like a reseller, like on like some boulevard in New York, like in a warehouse?
It wasn't, and their website is a little bit different now, but it wasn't like that flashy sort of website that a lot of the companies have now. And I was like, well, maybe this isn't real, but I feel like we should try it. Maybe we'll try it and see if it's good. Absolutely the best seeds we've ever gotten, the best customer service. I really like the company.
They're based out of Maine. They talk about their sources, their people, like who they go to, they're trialing. So far, Fedco has batted 1,000.
Yes, I've had way better germination with their seeds than anyone else.
All of them were what they said they were. All of them worked. The company has been very easy to deal with.
They feel like a small business, even though they're not anymore. It started out obviously much smaller. It has grown.
They feel like what was a core family business that's expanded out to like a small community or something. Man, props. Fedco, if you guys are watching this, maybe we should tag them if they have a thinger. I don't know. Hey, hi. We're no longer in the U.S. My gosh, we love you. You've done us well. Here's us giving back.
Yeah, they're just absolutely the best.
So, that being said, where you get your seeds, it can be a huge part of gardening success. Like you get into like the pole beans. You could go anywhere and get Kentucky pole beans. You get them from your local hardware store.
All going to be the same.
Or something.
Is your germination rate going to be the same? And if you are, I think this is especially critical, not so much for us because we have a year-round growing season. If something fails, we can do it again. If you have a short growing season, you need to make sure that you use it to the full extent. If you have seeds that don't germinate and you're like, well, I have now missed my window to grow that for the entire year.
And this gets into
that's so important
to how the seeds were grown. So when you look at like, oh, we're going to buy it from this person, you have to look at their field, you have to look at their conditions, you have to look at how they're doing it. If it's just a giant mega crop, somewhere out in a poor soil condition out in the Midwest where they're just dumping fertilizer on it and kind of getting a commodity crop, those seeds are not as nutritious, they're not as robust as one grown in proper soil with the nutrients taken care of. Like, it makes a big difference. You find that across the board. You find it with chickens. You take a chicken and you feed it the cheapest possible feed and it lays an egg. You could hatch that egg if it's fertile. How's the next chicken going to be? Well, there's not the nutrients. There's not all the things. It did not develop as good of an egg as you did. Had you had a free-range chicken eating all sorts of things and bugs around your property, you will end up with a much higher quality second generation.
And I don't think
if
people
you took
consider
care of
that.
the first generation.
I don't think people consider that with seeds.
Nobody
It's just,
thinks about
it's
that.
a seed and it will do the job.
You think it's all the same?
And it's just not. I mean, you can grow the same. We can take a seed from a plant that we have grown and put it back in our soil and do that for years on end. And that seed, that plant will adapt to our conditions. So you can change the seed.
There's the genotype, and then there's the expression of the genes changes over time. And it also even happens with humans. How you treat your own body depends on how your children turn out, how their children, sometimes they're tracing it out 6 generations, damage that happened to you, or lifestyle choice that continues down.
So where you choose to buy your seeds is super important for the future of your garden, especially if you intend to save those seeds and just continue that line of genetics.
And without the mechanisms in place to see all the way down that line, you basically just have to really trust your seed company to do that work for you in the background quietly without being thanked.
Yeah, it's a thankless job, I think. Yeah.
All right.
So those are our top 10 plus bonus.
Top 10 and a bonus.
Just absolutely amazing varieties to grow. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. Please leave your favorites in the comments and why.
Yeah, share.
Share. Subscribe if you haven't. We do all sorts of interesting homestead stuff all the time. And we'll see you for the next one.